Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatah for the brothers, Yahweh Shema Elatah Bashem Yahushua for the sisters. This is the Friday High Desert Scripture Breakdown class. I'm Peace Officer 1000 Shadrach, and we're going to go into the topics in the Bible. And my topic today is going to be the brutality, America's brutality against blacks, the history of brutality against blacks and Hispanics. The reason I'm coming up with this is we have a trial going on now with Ahmad Arbery. And Ahmad Arbery was killed by 3 white men back in Georgia, downstate, while he was jogging, for simply jogging. He got shot with a double-barrel shotgun, and he succumbed fatal wounds. You know, it showed him bleeding in the street while they were just talking, acting all like nonchalant. The police came and were acting nonchalant about the whole thing, while here's Ahmad Arbery breathing his last breath on the ground in the street, killed in cold blood. Okay. Give me a minute. I'll be right back. I have one more piece of information. Hold on. Okay, Salakia for that. It's more information about Ahmad Arbery. They actually had a movie called The Killing of Ahmad Arbery. It was like a docudrama, what you would call it, about his life and his death. You know, they had his mom on there, I think his brothers on there, and you could tell they just shook up behind their relative getting killed like that. You know, this proves the history of America. You know, the brutal things have been going on and have not stopped since America came to be. America has shown some brutality. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a scripture first. You know, this is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under the Commanding General. Make sure that I give that, that you know what you're watching. Let's see. So I want to give you guys somewhere in the book, should be Psalms. Okay. Look up the book of Psalms real quick, right here. Yeah, I think it's in 58. Okay, this is Psalms 52 and verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born. As soon as they're born, the wicked go astray. As soon as they be born, speaking lies. You understand? Our oppressor has been over us all this time, blacks, Hispanics, and so-called Native Indians. And he has done nothing but lie to us, nothing but murder us, nothing but keep us back. Nothing but abuse us, nothing but molest us, rape us, all the things that a wicked person can possibly do. Okay. That's because of this scripture here explains it. You see, Jacob and Esau were in the womb fighting, inside of Rebekah's womb fighting. You understand? she said, why am I thus? Why am I thus? And the angel of the Lord came and told her that thou hast two manner of people in thy womb. They will be separated at thy bowels. Two different people, different mannerisms, different. Yeah, that was our oppressor. We were fighting our oppressor way back when Rachel was pregnant with the two twins. Okay. Esau and Jacob. Esau was the older one that came out of this, and Jacob was the one that came out, and they didn't say nothing about him because everybody back then was black. Everybody. Okay. So the wicked go astray as soon as they be born. Nothing can validate the treatment that they have done to us ever since we've been ever since we came across. Ever since the Bible has been written. They've done that wickedness. The tribe of Amalek and all of them have done wickedness to God's chosen people. God's chosen people came out of Jacob's loins, because Jacob had 12 children, the 12 tribes of Israel. You understand? So these are the things that people need to understand. So when you want to hear the story of Rebecca, it's in Genesis 25. And really just also the story of Jacob, but their birth, 25 and verse 19. I'm gonna go ahead and read that just for bringing what I had to bring up. This is Genesis 25 and verse 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife. So she became his wife when he was 40. Daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. Verse 21, and Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Verse 22, and the children struggled together within her. The children struggled together within her. They were struggling, fighting each other. You understand? And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? This probably really tripped her out, feeling all that movement inside her womb. And she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said unto her, all right, two nations are in thy womb. Two nations. That means these are two different people in her womb. Understand? Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. Two manner of people be separated from her bowels. Understand? They'll have two different mannerisms. One to act one way, one to act another way. That was Esau and Jacob. Okay. And the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days were to, verse 24, when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. See? Now, verse 25, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. He came out red all over like a hairy garment. They described him because he looked very much different with all that hair on him, being all red like a hairy garment. They called his name Esau. Esau is the father of all of our oppressors in this world. The father of all Europeans. All Europeans. Esau is the dad. You understand? And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. He was still trying to fight, like, get back here, And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Okay, so that shows you and describes him, our oppressor. The same ones we're dealing with in America. They come from that same bloodline. Esau was a cunning, this is verse 27, and the boys grew. And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man. You see the different mannerisms right there. One was a hunter, one was a plain man. All right. Dwelling in tents. 28. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of the venison, which is deer meat, you know. But Rebekah loved Jacob, and Jacob sought pottage. See, so down the line, if you can read it further down the line. Jacob sold Esau. Gave Esau that pottage, that red pottage, when Esau came out the field. Esau sold his birthright. He got a birthright from the Lord, a birthright from his father that he was supposed to value and take care of. And Esau didn't do that. Esau sold it just like that. Was this good for me? Here, let me get this pottage. I'm damn near dying from out being in the field. You know? And like we always say, he should have died. Okay. Instead of sell his birthright. I'll go through a little bit more of the story. And Esau came from the field, and he was faint, which means he was weak, feeling weak. And Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called Edom. See, that's how he got the name Edom. Esau is Edom. Okay. Verse 31. And Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." See, Jacob probably knew on the other hand that he didn't care about it anyway. Or maybe he was testing him to see if he would do it in the first place. One or the other. Okay. Verse 32. And Esau said, "Behold, I am at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me?" See, what profit? He's looking for a profit when he should be looking to serve the Lord. He should be looking to take care of that birthright unto death. Because when the Lord gives you a command, or the Lord gives you something you know came from the Lord and it was given in your charge, you're supposed to treat it right. You're supposed to take that birthright or whatever it is and keep it separate from things that are common. You're supposed to take care of it, put it somewhere safe, keep it close to you, or keep it close on your neck or whatever, wherever you have it. Okay. And what profit shall this birthright do to me? We're in Genesis 25, and we've already read up. We started at 19, and now we're at 32. Well, 33 now. And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. So he actually sold the birthright. He despised it, and he sold it. Okay. Verse 34, then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage and lentils, pottage of lentils. And he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus, listen closely, Esau despised his birthright. See, that's some wickedness up in him. He despised something from the Lord, man. That's wicked. He despised the birthright. All right. So just like it said, we read earlier, the wicked are estranged at the womb. Understand? They go off speaking lies. Okay. So you have to be very careful not to follow this world and this society, because it's wicked. Society is wicked. Okay. See, that's the thing. These men that killed Ahmad Arbery were wicked at the womb, all of them. Their father's Esau, and Esau's characteristic is Dulo. His characteristic is terrible, man. It's wicked. It's dastardly. It's desperate. It's cunning. Understand? It's deceitful. All right. See, now we can go to Numbers chapter 10 and verse 35. Numbers chapter 10 and verse 35. Right? And it reads, and it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moses said, rise up, Lord, and let thine enemies be scattered. See, the Lord had enemies. Christ had enemies too. You understand? Israel had enemies. It's not no, la-di-da, skip to heaven. I'm happy. I love you because you did something great in that Christian church or whatever, or that Muslim mosque or that Catholic church you was in. No, the Lord had enemies, has enemies to this day. Understand? Since the beginning of time, the Lord has enemies. Okay. Moses said, rise up, Lord, and let thine enemies be scattered, and let them that hate thee flee before thee. See, they will have that ark when they go to war. The priests will carry that ark when they go to war too. Understand? Or when they camp, or wherever the Lord tells them to, wherever the Lord told the Levites to do. And just like I had the class the other week, Levites are Haitian people. No matter what you think about the Haitians were the first priests of the 12 tribes of Israel. That's who Moses dealt with. That was Moses' tribe and Aaron's tribe. You understand? When you hate God's people, you hate the Lord, period. You understand? And the Lord had enemies. Let's see. So now I'm gonna go on and get into this now. I started off talking about Ahmad Arbery, and I'm gonna go back to it. It was on Court TV, the killing of Ahmad Arbery. His case is being tried right now. His case is soon to be tried now. Understand? His family want justice. Alan Tucker's podcast, as he tries to defend Mick Michaels. Mick Michaels is one of the men that shot or helped shoot Ahmad Arbery. Okay. Or who was there? They were chasing him. What were they chasing him for? Still, we want to know, why were you chasing this black man who's jogging in the street? Why are you following him? It's just like Trayvon Martin. When they told what's his name, Zimmerman, when he called in for the dispatch and all that, they told him don't pursue Trayvon Martin, but Zimmerman pursued him. He went on. These three white men did the same thing to Ahmad Arbery, and Ahmad Arbery also was killed. Okay. And this happened in Georgia too. I don't remember what part of Georgia, but this says there was the case is being tried in the Glenn County courthouse. Okay. It's the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They took over the case and all of that. Okay. So he tried to defend McMichael, saying Gregory and Travis McMichael is his son. The other one is the other McMichaels, saying that he went in the house and they tried to slow, they tried to say that's suspicious activity. You walk in a construction house. So what? What they got to do with it? You don't got no guns, bullets. You ain't trying to rob the place. You turn around and leave. And then they following you and all that. And then they try to say that they should slow the frame down so you could see the fight. Because Ahmad Arbery was struggling with McMichaels and he was pulling the shotgun, trying to get him from shooting him, trying to keep him from shooting him. But he got shot in his bowel area, I believe, stomach area. And he bled out. Okay. They try to say, slow down the frame of the fight. Why the hell was there a fight in the first place? You was harassing that man. You was unjustly seeking and pursuing him. You understand? Let's look at the book of Lamentations. Let's look at what Lamentations got to say about that. All right. Let's see what the book of Lamentations got to say about this. Okay. And it's concerning our people. It's concerning us. I'm going to go into Lamentations 4:18. Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 18. Okay. They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Does that sound familiar? And then that what happened to Ahmad Arbery? They hunt his steps that we can't even go in our streets. They're going to shed innocent blood, our blood as being blacks and Hispanics. They hunt us, man. They've been hunting us for centuries, man. For centuries. You understand? They committed the act of war against our people, and our people are so silly they don't even know that they're at war with our oppressor. We're at war with them. This is a spiritual war right now. You know, I'm not saying, and ISUPK does not condone going out and killing white people. But we just want you to know you're in war with them. You are in war, straight up warfare with them. You understand? All these killings, these senseless killings, man. You killing people from another nation, that's an act of war. It's like if one of the Taliban's got shot by somebody out there, they're going to war against them. They're going to go against them. Kill a Korean and see how many Koreans come up after you. Okay? They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our end is near. Death. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. See? Verse 19 is our end is coming. But verse 19. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains they laid wait for us in the wilderness. See? So they're quick as hell to persecute us. God's people have been persecuted since Egypt, since Assyria, since Rome, since Babylonia, since being in Greece. The Greeks did it too, and now America. And all this is because that we have not followed the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. It's time to wake up. It's time for our people to wake up, man. You know, nothing has changed since those times. So I'm going to go into my book, 100 Years of Lynching by Ralph Ginsburg. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go to page 122. Page 122. All right. Now, this was in Dublin, Georgia. The Dublin, Georgia Herald said this. Okay. Same state where Ahmad Arbery got killed. A Negro, Cleveland Butler, was shot and fatally wounded by 4 white men in Twiggs County yesterday. Deja vu, huh? According to the news reaching Dublin, when he was arrested by the men on suspicion that he was Hubert Cummings. Oh, wait a minute, suspicion, you somebody else. You got shot and fatally wounded? Okay. The Negro badly wanted in Lawrence County. After the Negro had died, parties from Dublin saw him and stated positively that he was not Cummings. See, the parties that was involved said that this is not Hubert Cummings. Second paragraph. According to the story told by the members of the Lawrence County parties who went to identify the Negro, the full white men implicated were Messrs. Tharp, Griffin, and Myers. Myers and another man they didn't know. These men stated they heard of a strange Negro working in the chalk mines just over the lines in Twiggs County. And after seeing him, they decided that he very much resembled Cummings. They decided to capture him. Why you gonna capture him? He looked like him, but why you can't even possibly identify him. But they did it anyway. See? And laid their plans. Learning that he was asleep at a Negro house near the mines, they went to the house Tuesday and went into the room where the Negro was sleeping. They stated they called him twice, and when he did not answer, they decided he might be preparing to shoot at them through the coverings, and decided to shoot first, which is what they did. No bullets was flying their way. They decided to just go ahead and shoot. He looks like him. Let's pursue him, and let's just go and shoot him. See? Estranged from the womb. That's these people. Understand? The load from the shotgun fired at close range, same damn weapon, fired at close range, tore away a portion of the Negro's jaw, chin, teeth, and tongue, making an ugly wound. Brutal, man. Straight up brutal. Straight up savage. You have the nerve to call blacks and Hispanics savages. That's straight up savagery. All right? Neither of the men was an officer of any kind. See, same circumstances. These guys weren't officers. They were acting like they the law, but they weren't the law. They weren't a sworn in officer of Georgia, of Dublin, Georgia. Okay. But they carried the Negro to the sheriff of Twiggs County, who refused to take him, telling the men that the Negro should go to the medical hospital at once. And if he proved to be Cummings, Macon was the place to carry him. They carried the Negro to the jail in Macon. But here again, the sheriff refused to take him, but told the men to rush the man to the hospital at once. Well, they're wasting time. They don't care about your life. They don't care about your life. You understand? It didn't seem like they were taking their time. They were just fooling around. Okay? They should have got medical help. So they carried him to the Macon hospital, where he died, a few minutes after being taken in. See? This is how they treat you. They have not changed. This was in 1919. This was in the Dublin, Georgia Herald in the year 1919. That's like 100 years ago. I'm correct. A little bit more than 100 years ago. Okay. While this was going on, Deputy Sheriff Lester Watson had been notified by Sheriff Griffin of the Negro's capture, and he gathered a party who knew Cummings well and went to Macon to identify the Negro. See? So he got somebody that actually knew Cummings, the person that they were looking for, and he got them and bring them over there to the wounded Negro, the other wounded Negro. Okay. So you get Cleveland Butler was this guy's name that got his part of his face blown off. Okay. The Dublin party saw the Negro about 10 minutes after he had died and immediately stated that he was not Cummings. Okay. Although he favored Cummings, the dead Negro was reported lighter in color. Because you know, Israel come of all different shades. I'm light skinned. This Negro's lighter than me. You know, and our Latino brothers. The Latinos or so-called Hispanics darker than me. Dark as hell. Israel comes in. Israel is a speckled bird, as it says in the Bible. We come with all flavors, man. We like it says in the Bible, a cake unturned. Ephraim is a cake unturned. You take a cake and you put it on a grill and you don't turn the cake over, you're going to have dark at the bottom and light at the top. Same thing with a pancake. Yeah, it's a cake anyway. Like a cake unturned, like you don't turn that pancake over. It's still going to be light at the top. All right, we come in all shades, man. All right. Although he favored Cummings, the dead Negro reported lighter in color with an old scar on his face that Cummings did not have. Even the scar on his face, they could identify him. Cummings didn't have that scar. The men from this county were positive that it was not Cummings. They were positive. Just what will be the outcome of the case against the white men who were responsible for the Negro's death is not known here, but they are in a rather peculiar and somewhat uncomfortable position as a result of the affair. Okay. Now that's as close to Ahmad Arbery's case that you could get. That's close. As you can see, things have not changed 100 some odd years ago to today. We can go into, let me see. This is in Eastman, Georgia. This happened in 1919 as well. A mob, this is Eastman, Georgia, on August 29th, 1919, okay? A mob of white residents attacked Eli Cooper, a leader among the Negroes, as he was in a church in Ahmad, Georgia, and shot him to death yesterday. This is what the New York Sun wrote in their newspaper. The mob then burned the church. Sound familiar? They always burn the church too. Burn the house, burn the church. Later, other Negro churches at a lodge were burned. The attack on Cooper grew out of a rumor that the Negroes were planning to rise and exterminate the white residents of this section. They just decided to kill him just on GP. Okay. Now these things are happening for a reason. It was what, Ruth Dillon? I think it was Ruth Dillon, the one that went in that church and killed all those people too. And something about them going in, they know the blacks in churches, man. Y'all better start checking people at them churches. If you're still gonna have a church, you better start checking people. But you can't do that up in here. You can't just come up in ISUPK. You're gonna get frisked by the men holding guard at the door. You're gonna get frisked. You ain't coming up in here starting nothing. Because we may end it for you. You understand? We not no Christians, man. Only cheek we turning is toward our brother. We're gonna turn the cheek. If our brother do something, we could turn our cheek, but not any other nation, not any other heathens out there. That's who they are. All these nations are heathens anyway. Okay, so let's see. I went from one page 77. This is 1912, 7 years earlier than 1919. This is 1912 from the Montgomery Advertiser. Lynched for being black. Well, Aubrey was lynched for being black and running and jogging. United States District Attorney O.D. Street of Birmingham today made a public letter which he is forwarding to Governor O'Neill. The letter is from C.P. Lunsford of Hackleburg. It reads as follows. On last Wednesday, there was a Negro man chased and hounded down and murdered while going peacefully along the railroad. Okay, there was not anything against him, but a party of men got after him because his skin was black, and murdered him. The grand jury was in the session at the time and has not paid attention to the murder. They ain't even pay attention to the murder. I say black life is cheap, huh? It's always been cheap. Not even so much as to put the parties under arrest. They ain't even put the parties under arrest, man. Damn. You don't get no justice, man. You don't get no justice. Okay? The Negro who was murdered was Willis Perkins of Sheffield, and I am reliably informed that he was of an excellent character. And an excellent character. But he murdered in the street, murdered by the railroad. Okay? I write you to know if there is any law in the United States to protect its citizens against such outrage and wholesale slaughter. The guy said that because he noticed wasn't the first. Wholesale slaughter. You understand? These things are happening. You know, now I feel bad for Ahmad Arbery's family and all the other victims, their families, their people. Philando Castile being shot in the car in front of his kids. Freddie Gray, Mike Brown. You understand? Where's the justice for these people? Where's that sense of justice, sense of humanity? See, our oppressor has no humanity. He believes in only one humanity, himself, his people. That's his humanity. He don't care about you. According to him, you're a monkey or animal or something. Less than a human being, less than a man, because of your skin color. Okay? Wholesale slaughter of human beings. This is the second Negro that has been killed in this county in the last 12 months. And the state authorities seem to pay no attention to it, whatever. They don't give a damn. You understand? Because it's you being slaughtered out there. They don't care. It's not their own. Every beast loves its own kind. They love their own kind. Understand? They don't care what happens to you. And some of them will pursue you and pursue your life. Just like they was going to hang that other guy. I forget his name. They're going to hang him until some people came along and got him. So, and that was recently. That was somewhere in 2020 or something. This is the second Negro that was killed in this county. They paid no attention to it, whatever. The parties who murdered the Negro are Walt Miller, Tom Mason, C.L. Baker, Jack Purser, George Stidham, and others. I would be glad if you would send a detective over here and see if we can stop this mob violence. See, there's many of them that feel this way. They won't tell you. They'll laugh and joke around with you and act like everything's cool with you, but deep down inside, they hate you. They really do. Okay. Estranged, the wicked is estranged from the womb, man. The U.S. Attorney Street says he is forwarding the letter to Governor O'Neill as he is powerless in the matter. So many of them were making sure that wasn't going to go to trial. I'm going to go down. We have the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania advocate verdict, September 13th, 1912. Princeton, West Virginia, September 7th. That a mistake was made in lynching Walter Johnson, a colored man, last night is now believed by the authorities. A statement was issued today by Mayor Bennington, Sheriff Ellison, Judge Maynard, and prosecuting attorney J.O. Pendleton stated that there is plenty of evidence that Walter Johnson did not commit the crime for which he was lynched. And they missing all the way. A mob lynched Johnson last night, allegedly for attacking Night White, a 14-year-old daughter of a railroad man. Today's statement said that Johnson fell far short in dress and physical appearance of the man described by the girl. So he didn't even have the same characteristics neither. All right. Yet he paid for it with his life. Wetumpka, Alabama, November 10th. The Montgomery Advisor, November 11th, 1912. Buggy collision incites mob to lynch Alabama Negro. November 10th, one Negro is killed and a posse of infuriated citizens of Floyd, Elmore County are hunting a second Negro with the aid of the state penitentiary dogs tonight. See, they hunt our steps. We're not safe in our streets, man. The two Negroes earlier in the day killed John Chitzenberg, an Elmore County farmer, and later one of them, Bernie, killed Claude Kidd of his pursuers. It is learned here that Mr. Chisberg's two daughters were on their way to church when they met the two Negroes, driving in an opposite direction. So get this. The young woman drove as far to the side of the road as possible, but the wheels of the vehicle driven by the Negroes locked those of the Mrs. Chisberg's buggy, causing the horse to run away. In a simple car accident, chariot accident, right? It was in a buggy or whatever. A party of young men passing by repaired the harness and took the two young women to church and returned to punish the two Negroes. What did they get punishment for? They don't even know whether it was her fault or his fault, and even if it was, why they come back to punish him? Okay. They informed Mr. Chisberg, who joined them in the pursuit of the Negroes. See, overtaking two Negroes in advance of his party, Mr. Chisberg attempted to horsewhip both when one of them shot Mr. Chisberg through the body, inflicting serious, if not fatal, wounds. After the shooting, the Negroes took to the woods, and it was necessary to get the penitentiary dogs to follow. A large number of citizens joined in the manhunt. The occupants of a Negro cabin stated that the party's sort were not there, believing the Negroes to be secreted in the cabin of some kind. went inside and noticed a loft overhead. Claude Kidd, one of the pursuers, mounted a rickety table, while some of the companions held it with a pole, pushed up one of the planks of the loft. As he did so, a pistol from the loft rang out, and Mr. Kidd fell to the table, dead. The ball striking him in the top of his head, coming out under the jaw. Those in the house came out and made the Negro owner of the cabin bring Mr. Kidd's body out. They told the Negro to go back and tell the Negro who did the shooting to come out, or they will burn the house. The Negro refused to come out, threatening to kill the owner of the premises if he came back. The crowd proceeded to set fire to the cabin. The Negro, seeing that he would be burned, made a dash for liberty, shooting at the crowd as he ran. Fortunately, no one was struck. The Negro was killed, his body was completely riddled with bullets. The second Negro made his escape. So the second one got away. See, this senseless things that has been happening over the course of history, and nobody is paying attention. That so-called Black and Hispanic not paying attention, thinking that everything is cool in the game. You know, you got to be careful, man. You really got to be careful, because they're lurking to take your life. Your life is not safe. Now here's one from Montgomery Advisor again in 1914, May 8th, in Groveton, Georgia, May 7th. Okay. Charlie Jones, a Negro, was taken from two officers near the late last night by a number of white people and lynched. It is said that Jones was suspected of shoplifting a pair of shoes. So for a pair of shoes, they killed him. Okay. Now here's the Boston Guardian, April 29th, Marshall, Texas. Because he is alleged, this page 90 in 100 Years of Lynching. Because he is alleged to have hugged and kissed a white girl, daughter of farmer Charles Fisher, a Negro youth was recently badly mutilated by a mob here. According to Sheriff Sanders and County Health Officer Taylor, the mob sheared off the youth's ears, slit his lips, mutilated him in other ways below the belt. Savage, straight up savage, man. That's crazy. Okay. You have to be real. You have to be real. Keep your eyes open on what's coming in these days. Things that are coming in these days, these last days, is no joke. It is definitely time for this world to have a change. That the Lord sending Christ, Yahweh, down from heaven with his million black angels to take care of this earth, man. To change and kill the leadership that's in charge. Put them in chains. Understand? Treat them like they treated us. That's true justice. You understand? That's the true justice. But the Lord is going to send that command. We in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we follow the laws, statutes, and commandments. So we don't go running around killing white people. That's not our MO. Our MO is to serve the Lord. And if he deems that time for, we will. All right. Christ and his angels going to have that vengeance. Okay, now. A Georgia sheriff, this is in 1917 in February. A Georgia sheriff was murdered something over a year ago. Naturally, there was an intense excitement in Worth County, where the crime was committed, and of the six Negroes who were arrested, 5 were promptly hanged by a mob. So they just hanged 5. They arrested 6 and hung 5 of them. The 6th, Jim Keefe, chanced to be rescued from the lynchers, much to their indignation. He was put on trial and convicted of complicity in the murder, but not the actual participation in it, and he was sentenced to imprisonment for life. Recently, some new facts came to light, and in the second trial that was accorded to Keefe because of their importance, not only was he cleared by the jury of having any hand at all in the killing, but it was also proved that the 5 Negroes who were lynched were equally guiltless, which means they didn't even do it. 6 people, understand, getting their life. I think he might have got away. The last one, Keith, might have got away, but the 5, what about them? What about their families? What about their lives? Black blood is cheap, huh? Sure is. All right. See, just like God has enemies, Christ had enemies too. Okay. He also had enemies. Because see, Christ was a black man also. You're going to go to, I believe it's Luke 19 and verse 27. Luke chapter 19 and verse 27. Now it says right here, now this is the words of Christ. If you have a Bible, you'll see, you should be seeing red letters. The red letters indicate that Christ, our King, Yahushua in the Hebrew, is speaking. So this is Christ speaking here in Luke 19, verse 27. But those, mine enemies, you hear that? Mine enemies. Christ is saying my enemies, but those my enemies. Christ had enemies. But those my enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither, bring them here. The ones that don't want me to rule over them, reign means rule. Bring hither, bring them here, Sulaki, and slay them before me. Christ says, slay them. Slay his enemies who would not have let him rule over them. Okay? That's what Christ, that's what Christ said. So Christ had enemies too. The Lord had enemies, Christ had enemies. The prophets had enemies. Israel has enemies. Blacks have enemies, Hispanics have enemies. So-called Native Indians have enemies because we're the same people. We're the children of Israel, the true children of Israel, of all the 12 tribes. Okay? Jacob's sons. So with all this, there should be justice. I'm going to go to Isaiah 14 and verse 21. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 21. Prepare slaughter for his children. Prepare death for his children. Slaughter them like you slaughter beef, like you slaughter chickens. All right? Slaughter them. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. There's plenty of iniquity of their fathers in 100 years of lynching and in this Bible. Plenty of iniquities of our oppressor Esau. Understand? Plenty. overabundance of wickedness rests in those people. That's right. For the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise. The Lord don't want them to rise again, nor possess the land. They're making hell of this earth, man. These corporations, all they fracking and all of their tainting the water with lead and throwing waste all over the place, not managing this land, not managing the land of the earth. Okay. Prepare slaughter for them, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. See, the Lord don't want them back in charge no more. They won't be in charge pretty soon. Pretty soon. Now, you may think a lot of us in ISUPK are so angry. What are we so angry about? Well, I'm very angry about what's happened to my people and what's the state of Blacks and Hispanics and so-called Native Indians. You understand? In this present day age, from past and of the future. Well, let's see what Solomon said. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. Oppression makes a wise man mad. You understand? That's why we're mad. This oppression is making us angry. We know that we should be angry. According to the wisest man in the world wrote this. Oppression. When you're oppressed, it makes you angry. We're being oppressed here in this land, man. We're being murdered and slaughtered in this land. You can't drive, you can't jog, you can't walk along the railroad. You can't be black. This nation hates us, man. It always has. Nothing has changed. Like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. Okay? And a gift destroyeth the heart. Okay? So when next time you see ISUPK, you see that we angry and fired up on these street corners at camp or in these classes, and we angry, understand this is why. The word is oppression, persecution, murder, and theft, rape, pillaging, all those words. Understand? Molesting, understand? Lying, all those wicked things. That's what our oppressor does to us. Now, this is still in the book of 100 Years of Lynching. I'm on page 121. I'm in 101. The editorial in the Chicago Defender, February 12, 1916. How much longer? In 4 weeks, the intelligent and cultured citizens of the Commonwealth of Georgia have lynched 16 colored people, which is a record. It set a record on 16 lynchings. Okay? Which is a record. Despite the Emancipation Proclamation and constitutional amendments ostensibly conferring equal rights, the world knows how cheaply the life of a black man is held in those regions that are still stained by the memory of a legalized system of servitude, which is slavery. Right? Paragraph 2. But it would seem by this time that the people of the South would have made at least some small progress toward controlling and finally eliminating mob murder. Instead of diminishing, the number is increasing. Wow, the number was increasing. Instead of it diminishing, the number was increasing. All of this senseless killing. Okay. And in at least 4 instances, it later developed that the persons put to death were innocent of the offenses charged. See, that's happening today. It's still happening today. Innocent, armless, no guns on, no weapons, still being shot. Okay, still getting choked out like George Floyd. I don't think he had a weapon either. Matter of fact, he didn't have no weapon. Okay, but it would seem by this time that the people of the South would have made at least some small progress toward controlling and finally eliminating mob murder. Instead of diminishing, the number is increasing. And in at least 4 instances, it later developed that the persons put to death were innocent of the offenses charged. Whenever Georgia is able to execute legally the leaders of a lynching mob, she will have made a step forward that will promise much for her future. That ain't never happened. The discouraging part is that as graceful and degrading as these occurrences are, the best citizens appear to have developed the pride in this hideous work. They're best citizens. They have, how you say it? How do they say it? Developed a pride in this hideous work. They were proud that they were lynching our people, man. They were proud of it. Lynching innocent people. They loved it. You understand? Wicked as hell. That, that right there in itself, man, should tell you. That should tell you you're not safe in these streets. Trying to see what I can get here. Bear with me for a second. Well, now we're gonna go to Psalms 55 and verse 21. Psalms chapter 55 and verse 21. Psalms chapter 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. So his words are smoother than butter. Our oppressor's words are smoother than butter. Understand? But war was in his heart. So his words are smooth as butter come talking with you. But war is in his heart. These citizens walk around like there's nothing wrong with they, that they can do no wrong. That they're righteous, that they're good people, that they're upstanding citizens in America, in the state of Georgia. But these people have developed the pride in murdering us. And they murder us to go to the church, go to church. Praise the Lord. You understand? They'll murder us and go into their Catholic church or go into their Christian church, and they won't think nothing of it. They would think that it's just the way that nature is supposed to. That's the way nature is supposed to take its course. that they are superior. You know, they want to have that sense of superiority. You understand? You know, when it comes to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, they're gonna make sure that you get it, that you get the business end of that gun, or you get the business end of that rope, you get the business end of that stick or club. Understand? All right. It is a species of I'm still reading page 101 and 100 Years of Lynching by Ralph Ginsberg. Okay. It is a species of provincialism and local conceit of a peculiarly ugly and grotesque kind that produces such a feeling. But it is plain that something of the kind exists among a large class here. As ghastly as are the horrors of the European war, man's inhumanity to man is not confined to our brethren across the sea. We have this same hideous story every year. Are we ever going to do anything about it? Well, I don't think so. Now, this one happens in Waco, Texas. New York World, March 15, 1916. Let me see. Screaming for mercy until the flames silenced him. Jesse Washington, a Negro of 18 years, was burned to death by a mob in the public square here today. Many women and children were among the 15,000 who witnessed the lynching. 15,000 people came up there to see that. Man. Just a week ago, the lad assaulted and killed Mrs. Lucy Fryer, a white woman, in her home at Robinson, 7 miles from here. There was no question of his guilt, and he got one of the quickest trials on record in this part of Texas. The proceeding ended this forenoon when the jury brought in a verdict of guilty, carrying it with the death penalty. "I'm sorry I done it," said the prisoner in a whisper, shaking with fear as he saw the crowd in the courtroom rising threateningly all around him with the pronouncement of the verdict. "Get that nigger," was the shout raised by some, and it was chorused by the mob. The leaders made a rush, sweeping officers and lawyers aside. The Negro was seized and was dragged from the courtroom. The first suggestion was to hang him from the suspension bridge and a chain tied around his neck as he was dragged, yelling in that direction. "Burn him," roared hundreds of voices, all raised at once. And the idea pleased the mob. So the Negro was dragged by a chain to City Hall Square. There, the ringleaders stood him under a tree and threw the chain over the limb. Boxes and sticks of wood were piled around him, and then he was hoisted over the pile. His clothing was saturated with oil, and a match was applied. At a signal, the Negro hoisted further in the air, then was let fall into the flames. It was all over 1 hour from the rendering of the jury verdict when the fire had burned itself out. The charred body was put in a sack and was dragged behind an automobile in Robinson, where it was hanged to a telephone pole for the colored populace to gaze upon. Man, that's terrible. That is some terrible stuff. And now I'm gonna go back to Psalms 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth. This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. You know, they real smooth with talking. Your oppressor is real smooth and real witty and slick when it comes to dealing with you. Okay? His words were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. War was in his mind. Your heart is your mind in the Bible. The Bible writes something, and it says heart is your mind. That's what it means. See, war was in his heart. He had war in his heart. He was ready to kill. War was in his heart. His words were softer than oil. Soft words, softer than oil. Yet they were drawn swords. His words were softer than oil, but they were drawn swords. His words were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Understand, your oppressor has a war, and war is going on. See, we in the ISUBK are prepared for war. War breaks out, we ain't gonna give a damn. We're gonna do what the Lord tells us to do at that point. No man knows that yet. When we get the command, we got to go to war. We have to. You know, this nation been at war against us since these times. Definite war against us. Okay. So now back to Ahmad Arbery. Joyet Holmes was the fourth prosecutor for this case for Ahmad Arbery. Okay. William Reddy Bryant had videotaped the whole incident. He was the third man beside the McMichaels that actually confronted Ahmad Arbery. He was videotaping. He videotaped the incident and made racist remarks on his cell phone. Okay. After the shooting, Travis McMichaels used the N-word too, that Ahmad most likely heard him saying it. He probably heard him saying, "We killed that Negro." We killed that nigga. Or something to that effect. Understand? He probably heard that while he was bleeding out. That's what was said in this movie in court TV called The Killing of Ahmad Arbery. Okay. He got killed while he was running. Many of y'all probably familiar with the case anyway, or at least the incident. And the case is being tried in Glenn County, in the Glenn County courthouse in Georgia. See, we don't get that. We don't get that. How'd you say it? We don't get that justice that we need. We get all of these different things, all these nonchalant manners. When them police officers came and came down there to see what happened with Ahmad Arbery, they were talking with each other like pals and buddies and chums, and they were just damn near oblivious to that body bleeding out on the floor, laying in a puddle of blood, to Ahmad Arbery. They were just real nonchalant, you know. He called some investor. One of them used to work as an investigator, called his ex-coworker and told her that he has a situation down here. So he was trying to cover his, you know what. All right, he was covering his ass. He was trying to cover himself. Understand? But they had to separate themselves from him. They didn't move forward with him. And also, let it be known that those three men, after they shot him, they were allowed to go home. Those policemen let them go home to their homes. Only until the Georgia Bureau of Investigation came into the picture, into the scene, and Joyet Holmes, who is a black woman, the fourth prosecutor, only until they came in did they go to their homes and go and get and arrest these murderers. You understand? They were allowed to go back home. Didn't they take Dylan Roof to Burger King or something after he shot 14 black people in the church? Or how many amount it was? Took him to Burger King. Shoot. They should have took us to White Castle or something for any other crime. Wouldn't be murder. But yet they get us and throw us in, handcuff us tight and throw us in that paddy wagon, say, nigga, you going to jail. And that's where we go. But they let these men go back to their house. Go back home. It's all right. We'll take care of the rest of this. We'll call the coroner and everything. Go back. They didn't even do a full investigation. They didn't even make a full investigation. Okay. So these are the things that they do. And the world just puts a blind eye to it. The court system, the people put a blind eye to it. You know, they act like nothing happened. Everything is good. Nothing happened. It's all good. All right. It's high time that they pay for it. So let's see. Bear with me a little bit. I'm going to see which other ones I want to bring out. What else I'm going to bring out? I'm going to go to page 172. Okay, those of you who may have been with us a little far back may know about this. Our General Yohana, had a cookout. I believe that cookout was either Atlanta or Chicago, ISUPK cookout. There was a lady there who was the grandmother of our Captain Mawquad, the big priest we call him out of Chicago. Right, Captain Mawquad. Here's a copy of his family in this book, 100 Years of Lynching by Ralph Ginsberg. This is from the New York Negro World magazine, I guess, August 22nd, 1920. Okay. New York, August 18th. On July 6th, two colored boys, Irving and Herman Arthur. This is his family, his kinfolk. General Yohana did an interviewed his grandmother, Captain Mawquad's grandmother, and she told this story about her relatives, her people. Understand? She told it, and we have it on video. That's what she did. All right. And it taught us some things, man. It taught us a lot. You understand? Barakatah Yahweh Shah, that we have people that are still able to tell these stories from back in the day and make some sense of to what happened in the brutality of America, of our oppressor, and not to let him get off the hook. You can't get off the hook, and you are not on that hook. You are not off that hook. You're on that hook. You're going to stay on that hook, and you're going to be slaughtered. Our oppressor, that's what I'm talking to. Our oppressor is going to be slaughtered. New York, August 18th. On July 6th, two colored boys, Irving and Herman Arthur, 19 and 28 years of age. They're real young, huh? Were lynched by a mob and their bodies burned when they were accused of shooting their landlord following a dispute over settlement for a crop. Below we give him verbatim a letter written to the National Association for the advancement of colored people by a reputable citizen of Paris, Texas, where the lynching occurred. His name is withheld for obvious reasons. Now this is quote, "I'm writing you concerning a lynching which occurred here last month. Doubtless you have long since gotten the details. If not, I will give you facts as I witnessed them. Herman and Irvin Arthur, Negroes, with their parents, were tenants of the Hodges farm, on Hodges farm. They were working on halves, a system whereby the landlord furnishes the tenants and at harvest time takes half the crop and the amount with interest which he furnished his tenants during the year. Against the usual custom here, Hodges wanted them to work all day every Saturday. This they did for a while, washing their clothes on Sunday. When they refused to work Saturdays, they didn't want to work on Saturday. Hodges came to their house on the farm 3 days before the murder and took the family dinner off the cook stove and threw it in the yard. His son holding a gun on the Arthur family. He also threw the furniture and cook stove out of the house, made the boys pull off their overalls and shoes. The girls were forced to surrender their dresses and other clothing, which Hodges carried away with him, together with groceries, claiming they were in debt to him. After this occurred, the family decided to move and secured a truck for that purpose. Hodges fired on them when they were attempting to load the vehicle with their personal effects. Start shooting on them, shooting at them. If that wasn't good enough, you throw the stove out, you throw the food out, you take their clothes, you make them take off their overalls and everything. And it's the female take off their dresses and stuff. That wasn't good enough for him. See, our oppressor's a wicked bastard, man. His seed and his sons are wicked. His daughters are wicked. You understand? And the Lord gonna have vengeance on that. The Lord's gonna pay for them messing with Israel. These are Israelites. Israelites from the Negroes are from the tribe of Judah any old way. Same tribe as Christ. They don't know who they messing with. Some of them don't know, but some of them do know. Okay. Hodges fired on them when they were attempting to load the vehicle with their personal effects. One of the Arthur boys ran to the house, got his shotgun, and killed the white man and his son. Yeah, you return fire. If you got to fight fire with fire, you do. The Arthur boys were soon arrested and pleaded self-defense. See, self-defense. That is self-defense in the murder of the Hodges. They were brought to jail in Paris. Hours before, signs were displayed throughout the city announcing the forthcoming lynching. One that I saw said, niggers caught, black brutes who killed Hodges will be burned in the fairgrounds. Be on hand, quote, unquote. Another quote. A mob of about 3,000 awaited the arrival of the prisoners. Preparations had been made to burn them at the fairgrounds. And Old Glory was pulled from the flagpole. And to this, the men were chained, tortured, saturated with oil, and burned to a crisp. Devastating. Devastating. You can't even protect your own. You understand? You can't protect your own. The mob is going to come and make sure that you're lynched or burned to death. All right. Their charred, smoking bodies were then chained to an automobile and dragged for hours through the streets. This is horrific, man. What am I reading? A horror story? Damn right I'm reading a horror story. For hours through the streets, particularly in sections inhabited by our race. So the black areas, okay, where the so-called Negroes live. It was a regular parade of 17 cars and a truck, all filled with armed men. Okay, crying aloud, here they are, two barbecued niggas. All you niggas, come and see them and take warning. See? It's crazy. It's crazy. And when we heard the story firsthand at the cookout, that was a devastating story to hear from a lady that was there, that was a relative, living relative, and knows the story. And I believe Captain Marquard's brother or his cousin, I think maybe it was his cousin, he knew all the details of this story, even better than this book. Okay? And he told them. He told of that brutality. He told of the murders of his relatives. Understand? You know, after the grandmother spoke, you know, she was sitting right next to General Yohana and letting all of the priests and everybody there at that cookout know what happened. Okay? And that's in this book. That's his family, Captain Marquard's family. All right? The three Arthur girls, aged 20, 17, and 14, were in jail on the pretense of protection. They were severely beaten for screaming while the mob was taking their brothers from the jail. So they severely beat them just for screaming. You know, a female gonna scream, she see her brothers being taken brutally, you know, put into some jail. I mean, taken out of the jail, because they knew what was going to happen. There wasn't no secret. They knew they was going to get lynched or burned. Okay. Later on in the night, they were taken to the basement, stripped of all their clothes. These females, his cousins, understand? Stripped of all their clothes, and there assaulted by 20 white men. Damn. After which, they were given a bucket of molasses, a small sack of flour, and some bacon, and told to hit the road. Crazy. Hundreds of Negroes have left Paris since this occurrence. Others who have real estate are planning to leave as soon as possible. Should I see why? I see why. No. Yeah, that's horrible, man. That's horrible. See, things haven't changed as much these days as they did back then. They just using different methods of murder. And then speaking of murder, we're going to John chapter 8 and verse 44. John, the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 44. Now, these are also in red letters. So it's also Christ's words saying this. Okay? He's saying this. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts your father ye will do. Salaki. And the lusts of your father ye will do. So you're going to do the same thing your fathers did. Why you think they got all these white supremacist groups out here? Why you think they out there thriving? You understand? KKK and all of that. The lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. From the very beginning, he was a murderer. Okay. And abode, which means lived, not in the truth. He didn't live in the truth. He was a murderer from the beginning. Didn't live in the truth. Because there is no truth in him. That's why Christ is saying that. Yahushua in the Hebrew. He's saying there's no truth in him, that he's a murderer. Understand? When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for his people, to benefit him and his people. For he is a liar and the father of it. Our oppressor is the father of lies and a murderer. He broke every peace treaty with our so-called Native Indian brothers. He broke all the peace treaties, sat with them, made the treaties, and just made the treaties. Didn't pay him no mind. So he lied, saying to the Gadites, the so-called Native Indians, that he was going to keep these treaties with them and all the things that they had petitioned for, all the things that the tribes petitioned for to try to make some peace or make things good for that tribe, be it Kiowa or Comanche or Apache or Navajo or any one of them. They tried to have a petition with our oppressor, but our oppressor instead lied to them and continued to kill them and put them in boarding schools, cut their hair, take off their Gadite dress and garments, and then put on their clothes, the clothes that they wear. You know what I mean? The clothes, in other words, the clothes that our oppressor wears. They didn't let them keep their natural native tongue. They didn't let them even speak English. Same thing they did to us. Same thing they did to us. We didn't speak English in the beginning either. English is a European language, man. But we had to speak it and learn it because we were being oppressed and we were being taken advantage of, deceitfully lied to, that we were going to be slaves, that we were going to be in servitude and forced labor, under forced labor, forcing us to go to work. Okay, that's what was going to happen with us. Okay. That's all on that. Okay. Now, this is just after this story I just read. The New York Mail, October 29th, 1920. Lynching motive disputed. Johnson City, Tennessee, October 28th. Cooksey Dallas, Negro, was lynched by a mob here last night. Some local citizens say he made improper advances to a white woman. Others say he refused to sell moonshine whiskey to white soldiers. Who knows what the story was behind that one? Who knows what? Ain't no telling. Okay, now we got page 143. I just read from page 139 in this book about Captain Marquard's family. It's on page 139 to page 140. Okay, if you want to look it up. All right, and we always encourage to look at the facts. Encourage you to look at the facts. Okay. So this is Knoxville, Tennessee news, December 1920. She denies rapist was black. Moultrie, Georgia, November 30th. Miss Bessie Revere, daughter of one of the most prominent men in Quitman, Georgia, gained consciousness just in time to prevent departure of a search party that had been formed to scour the country for the big black brute, who had been described in the press as her rapist. Miss Revere said the man who assaulted her was James Harvey, a prominent white man. Go after us for anything. Anything. We're not safe in our streets, man. We're not safe. This is Jackson, Mississippi, the Jackson, Mississippi Ledger. Lynchings continue to drop. It says lynchings were less numerous during 1920 than in 1919. Records compiled at Tuskegee Institute show 61 people were put to death by mobs this year, as compared to 83 last year. Wow. The lynchings by states was Texas 10, Georgia 9, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida 7 each. Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and California 3 each. Arkansas, Kansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Ohio, South Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia 1 apiece. They just saying lynching was down. Okay, this is page 144 in the it's in a magazine, the Memphis Press. This is Lowry roasted by inches before wife and children. Nodina, Arkansas, January 27th. Cat, I want to be buried at Magnolia, Mississippi. These were the last words spoken by Henry Lowry, Negro murderer who was burned at the stake last night, 3/4 of a mile east here. More than 500 persons stood by and looked on while the Negro was slowly burnt to a crisp. A few women were scattered among the crowd of Arkansas planters who directed the gruesome work of avenging the deaths of O.T. Craig and his daughter. Mrs. C.O. Williamson among those in the crowd were Lowry's tearful wife and children. The setting was a natural amphitheater between two bluffs with the Mississippi River on one side and a huge lake created by backwater on the other. The Negro was chained to a log. Members of the mob placed a small pile of dry leaves around his feet. Gasoline was poured on the leaves, and the carrying out of death sentence was underway. Inch by inch, the Negro was fairly cooked to death. Lowry retained consciousness for 40 minutes. Not once did he whimper or beg for mercy. As flesh began to drop away from his legs and they were reduced to bones, once or twice he attempted to pick up hot coals and swallow them in order to quicken the death. Each time the coals were kicked from his grasp by members of the mob. As the flames reached his abdomen, two men closed in on him and began to question him. The slayer answered their questions freely, and the general impression was that he was telling the truth when he admitted his guilt in killing the man on whose farm he was a tenant and his daughter. A big 6-footer put the questions to the condemned man, while another wrote the answers down in a notebook. It resembled at a courtroom scene, with prosecuting attorney and court reporter. Other members of the mob crowded around, but not once did they attempt to interrogate the Negro, leaving this to the pair who appeared to have been assigned this duty. Words fail to describe the sufferings of the Negro. Yet only once did he cry out. Only once. This was shortly before he lost consciousness as flames began to lick at his chest and face. He cried out some appeal to one of the many Negro lodges of which he was a member. Then gasoline poured over his head, and it was only a few minutes until he had been reduced to ashes. After Lowry had been reduced to a charred mass, members of the mob headed in the direction of Osceola. It was whispered by that they were planning to raid the jails at Marion and Blytheville in order to secure possession of 5 more Negroes. They want more blood on their hands. They're not satisfied with blood. Okay? They're not satisfied. You understand? This is just man, it's terrible, man. With me real quick. Real quick. All right. Members of the mob headed in the direction of Osceola. Okay, so they're going over to get 5 more Negroes. Dang. That's a lot. That's a lot to have to deal with. And people must have been horrified. Our people must have been really, really horrified for this bloodthirsty mobs, these savage murderers. Understand? Okay. They must have been 5 more. They wanted the secure possession of 5 more Negroes in order to raise the total number lynched to an even half dozen. Just to get their numbers right on killing us. The mob, after riding back and forth across the country for several hours, finally began to disperse and go home. It was evident that the leaders were practically exhausted from their long trip with Lowry. See? And here's one more. I'm gonna get y'all the scripture. Just one more. Knoxville, East Tennessee News, February 1st, 1921. Jim Rowland, Negro, was lynched here yesterday after shooting Jason I. Harville, a white man who had held a pistol on him and ordered him to dance. Both men were well-to-do farmers. Each was standing with friends of his own race in front of a country store. Harville pulled out a gun and ordered the colored man to dance for the amusement of himself. So he pulls out a gun. He just wants some nigga to dance and stuff, right? For his own amusements, to show he got power. See, our oppressor always want to show his power over somebody. He got to always feel superior over somebody. You understand? It's a wicked bastard, man. You're just a wicked bastard. Just face it, man. Just face it, man. The Lord is going to come back and it's going to burn America at 1,000 degrees because of your wicked self. You understand? Okay. Ordered the colored man to dance for the amusement of himself and his white friends. Roland grabbed for the gun and it went off, killing Harville. Roland fled, but was soon found by a posse which riddled him with bullets. Before doing so, the posse leader commanded Roland to dance. He refused. They still tried to make him dance. And we here for your entertainment or something? I think not. All right, let's go to Ezekiel 35 and verse 5. But let's go up a little bit. Let's go to Ezekiel 35 and 3. 35 and 2. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir. Mount Seir is where Esau is from. Remember the two brothers we spoke of earlier in class? Jacob and Esau. Well, Esau finally made his way around to Mount Seir. That's where mostly his relatives are, in the mountains, Mount Seir. That's funny. Our oppressor is from the Caucasian mountain, the Caucasoid Mountains, or whatever they call them, in the mountains. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord God, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee. I will make thee most desolate. I'm going to destroy you in Mount Seir. I will lay thy cities, verse 4, I will lay thy cities to waste. Thy cities waste. And thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. The Lord gonna make sure that our oppressor know that he the Lord. He gonna make sure he know, because all the bloodshed. Look at this front of this book, man. They got the United States' blood. All that's blood right there. 100 years of lynching. If it wasn't true, they would have made such a book. Not one like this one. All right. I will lay, go back to verse 4. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Lord. Verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. Perpetual means continuous, continually, nonstop, continuous. All right. Let's go. Let's make sure you know what perpetual means for those who don't think that's what it is. Go to my Merriam-Webster, and we'll go to perpetual. All right. In a minute. Okay. Perpetual, continuing, forever, everlasting, valid for all time, everlasting and continuing forever. Holding something such as an office or for life for an unlimited time, indefinitely, long, continued, occurring continually. So this, I'll take the first definition, continuing forever, everlasting. You know, that's what perpetual is. That's what perpetual means. Okay. And that's what it says in this scripture. Okay. Because thou hast had, I'll say in a perpetual hatred, or in other words, everlasting hatred, and have shed the blood of the children of Israel. If you Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, understand and know true that you are the children of Israel, the descendants of the 12 lost tribes of Israel, Jacob's sons. Okay? Understand that. We're their descendants. We're his descendant. Okay? Has shed the blood of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in a time that their iniquity had an end. Because we had already paid for our punishment, our iniquity, our sins. But when we had an end, you rushed in and started killing us. Okay? 6, verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord God, I will prepare thee unto blood. The Lord is going to prepare you unto blood. Esau descendants, Edom, Edomites. That's who you truly are in the Bible, Edomites, Esau's sons, because Esau is Edom. All right. Prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Blood is pursuing you. Look at all what's happening to these police officers now. They all catching COVID. They catching COVID. And I think some of them, a good number of them are dying from it too. Well, what did they do in the street? Neck choke, knee on the neck, shooting all the children of Esau, or the children of Israel. You were killing Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Okay. So, as back to verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord God, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, since you ain't hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Verse 7. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. Verse 8. And I will fill his mountains with the slain men in thy hills, and in thy valleys, and in thy rivers shall they fall that are slain by the sword. Verse 9. I will make thee perpetual desolations, continuous desolations, continuous destruction, and thy cities shall not return. Hear that, Esau? Your cities will never return. There will never be no another America. I mean, never another America where you hold our people hostage. We ain't even left this land. This land is a land of our captivity. Saying, tell us to go home. Why don't you go home? Why don't you go back to Europe? All the diseases and all that stuff, man. I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. I was shy for that information. Understand that. This is going to be definite justice. Okay? Definite justice for our people, man. Long awaited, well-deserved justice is coming to Esau. Because America hasn't changed. They haven't changed their game. They have not. They have continued to be wicked. They have continued to show violence toward us. And they can't stop it because they're doing the lusts of their father, who was a murderer from the beginning. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13 and verse 9. I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 13 and verse 9. Okay. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity, you're captured. You led somebody, you captured them. You led them into slavery. They became your slave. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Shall go. Vamos. You out of here. You're going to go into slavery. You will be my slave. And you will pay for what you've done. You will be the slaves of the children of Israel. If not, you will be murdered. Not murdered, you will be put to death for your sins against thy children, Jacob. Okay? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Okay? Must be killed with the sword. You understand? That's what must happen. Okay? That must happen to our oppressor because of all the wickedness that he has done. Go into I'm gonna go to Obadiah, the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, which is only one chapter in there, and verse 10. Obadiah, chapter 1, and verse 10. Okay. Let's go to verse 9. Shoot. And thy mighty men, O Teman. Teman, if you look up the word Teman, Teman is related to those Europeans, possibly the Germans. Okay. They're related to the Germans. I remember looking that up and finding that out. This says, O Teman. Okay. And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that everyone that everyone of the mount of Esau, see a mountain, the mount of Esau is Mount Seir, may be cut off by slaughter. Okay. Cut off by slaughter. Verse 10, for thy violence against thy brother, Jacob. Jacob is the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, God's chosen. Shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Understand that. Understand it goes into the deeds that he does, that he's done against the children of Israel. All right. So America has not changed, probably not one iota. It's the things that we don't hear about that have happened. That same violence that Esau has been doing to Jacob since the beginning of time. All right. That Cain did to Abel since the beginning of time. And with that, this Police Officer Shada Rock of the ISUPK, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under General Yohana, I'm going to say shalom.